ki te whai au ki te ao Marama, tihei mauri o rai. E ngā reo, e ngā mana, e ngā ihi, e ngā wehi, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Ko Matariki tēnā, e rewa ake ana ki te pai, Matariki hunganui, Matariki ahunganui, Matariki tā puapua, Matariki e tō mai ngā kaupapa ki te whenua e tihei mauri o rai. I ngā reo, e ngā mana, ka tika me whai whakaro atu tātou ki a rātou, kua mene atu ki te pō. Rātou kua tai atu ki te hāhātanga o pipiri, ki te pūtahitanga o rehua. Haere atu rā, haere. Tātou te pitora, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Matariki Tauira. Matariki Tauira is part of Matariki Takitahi. He nui ngā mata, he kotahi te aronga, a kaupapa that brings together all of the Matariki events that the Rotorua Lakes Council are providing. Here at Te Akamori, we have many events that are being brought to us courtesy of Matariki Takitahi. And one of them is Matariki Tauira. Tauira meaning a student. So what we do is we ask particular individuals from around the council who work in council, we give them a star to study, or a planetary body to study, and 2.5 weeks ago they knew nothing about their particular star or heavenly body, because we know of Matariki and the 9 stars of Matariki, but there are many other stars in the winter sky. And today we are going to learn about one of the more closer planetary kaupapa in the sky, and that will be spoken by Christine Hutchison. Now, over here we have a pathfinder that helps you find a path to particular books or resources we have here at Te Akamori, so you can learn more about Matariki and all of the stars in the winter sky. But today, our kōrero is about one of the divine entities that we can see so close. In fact, if they put a subdivision on there, it would be called Rona Heights. And in the middle of that subdivision, they would have a pūriri tree. Just a little bit of a hint there. E te iwi te whānau, she'll talk about herself and introduce what part of the council she works for. Please, ho mai te paki kia Christine Hutchison.
Oh, kia ora Kingi, that's lovely. I'm short like you, so I'm glad you've got the microphone down here. Thank you so much for that, that's excellent. So, kia ora, I'm Christine and I work in the Parks, Recreation and Environment team in council. I'm a community engagement advisor and have been with the team for 7 years. So I'd like to thank Kingi for this opportunity to talk about Marama, our beautiful moon. This morning my kōrero is going to include my experience with Marama and to share what I've learned in the past 3 or 4 weeks about Marama and share a really cool resource with you at the end. So my experiences with Marama. When I was a little girl, honestly, probably goes with all of you here, I was fascinated with the moon. I was a curious little child and I used to sit in my doll's house with my dollies and look out at the moon. I don't know where Mum and Dad thought I was. I'm sure they knew I was in the doll's house outside, but absolutely fascinated with it. 50 years have ventured past, and 50 years ago we celebrated landing on the moon. I was at high school. I was, 13, 14, and I was in my form class, and my teacher, Mr. Corboy, said to us, "But did we really land on the moon?" He challenged us. Did we actually land on the moon? I'll never forget that. I'll never forget him asking that question, because you just take it for granted that we actually did land on the moon 50 years ago. Then I left school about 17, And I worked at a full-time in a plant nursery, but I was also a competitive runner, so I had to do my training runs after work. And in the winter, when you live in a rural community with no street lights, that's a little bit tricky. So it was really cool when Marama shone, because I used to use him or her, or use Marama to do my training at night. But when Marama wasn't shining, my dad used to come and actually drive his car and have his car lights behind me, so it was all good when Marama wasn't shining for me, so I was pretty lucky. And as a mum with two little kids, raising two little kids, I always used to snuggle them down at night, and I used to tell them that I loved them till the moon and back. And they're now 21 and 23, and they still text me that they love me to the moon and back, so that's pretty cool. I've been lucky enough to live out in Waikiki Valley for 15 years, and when I went to close the curtains, we have a beautiful sky out there. It's so big, it's so huge, and I always look for Marama. So yeah, it's been really cool to think about the things that that I've been involved in with Marama. It's been really cool. Question: how many miles is it from here to Marama? Who'd like to answer? How many miles is it from Earth to Marama? No, not 5 million. In miles? 5 million miles? No.
500,000.
No.
24,000.
That's pretty close. 250,000 miles. So who was closest? Can you catch a crunchy bar? So my learnings since this lovely man came and said, would you like to speak about Marama? The Māori lunar calendar is called Maramataka, which literally means the turning of the moon. It marks the phases of the moon in a lunar month, and this usually takes place in the period of June, July, and we celebrated that beautifully with 1,600 other people on Friday morning. And thank you, Kingy, for doing such a beautiful job. Traditionally, Māori lived in tune with the cycles and rhythms of the natural world around them. Their observations acknowledged the influence of each moon phase within the lunar month, beginning at each new moon. Each night, which also typically marks a day, was given a name, and over time, each day and night was accompanied by information on guiding fishing, gardening, and other activities in the natural world. Maramataka was consulted for nearly every activity that took place, such as hunting, fishing, planting, harvesting, as well as rituals including baptisms and important hui. Māori were also aware of the connection between the moon and well-being, which is really, really important at the moment. The influence on our energy levels. Connection to these cycles inspires our own daily rhythms, and it pulls me to deepen my own learning about this and observations. Do people still use lunar days today? Well, absolutely we do, particularly around fishing, planting of food by way of the moon. The tides and the elements are still very, very common, and I hear when I work in community gardens, they talk about planting by the moon, and we really value that and have great learnings from that. Question: name 2 things Maramataka was consulted for. What did we ask Maramataka? Guidance for what? Two things. You haven't been listening.
Planting and eating.
Fishing and gardening, thank you. Now, as part of my work with Kingy, we have had the privilege of joining to do some educational, inspirational learnings with the Ngāti Whakaui schools here. And I had the privilege to meet with Matua Fred, the principal of Rotorua Primary. And this is standing in Rotorua Primary. Isn't that fantastic? So this is a typical lunar month which lasts 29.53 days. Each night carries a name according to the Maramataka. For example, Whiro is the first night of the new moon. Te Rera is the second night, and so on to the last night. Our Maramataka for Te Arawa begins at Whiro Whiti. We have four main phases. As I said, starts with Whiro Whiti. Then our second phase is Tamatia. Our third phase, Rakai Nui. And our fourth phase for Te Arawa is Tangaroa. Question: how many lunar phases are there, or turns of Marama? So we're looking at the lunar, we're looking at the dial that turns, the moon that turns. How many phases are there? No. How many lunar phases? There are 30 to 32 phases. So that dial turns. Yeah? This is Ocean. I am involved in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program for Rotorua, and I go and see Ocean at Sunset Primary. And Ocean is an artist. She's 8 years old and she loves to draw. So every time I go up and see her at school once a week, she says, "Christine, let's draw a picture." And this day she said, "I want you to draw a really nice picture, something that is special to you, Fire." So I drew my dog. You can't quite see, that's Charlie. We only had pencils this day, not felt pens. And I also drew Marama. And I was quite proud of that because I did a bit of shading and it looked like Marama, kind of. And this is right after Kingy had talked to me about this speech. And I showed it to Ocean and she said, "Oh, Fire, you've got a nice dog called Charlie, and oh, Marama, that's my mother's name." And I said, "Well, she must be beautiful because Marama is very beautiful." She said she is. So that was really cool. Question: would anyone in the audience like to share something they know about Marama? Someone must know something about Marama, even if it's just a personal thing you know or feel about Marama.
The name Monday is named after the moon, and in Spanish, the name of the word is Luna. The moon is called Luna, and Monday is called Lunes to celebrate that celestial body.
Oh, impressive. Awesome.
Thanks.
Oh, Rob can't catch traits, that's terrible. Finally, I'd just like to talk about Hina. Does anyone know the Hina application? Hina is an application using the Maramataka phases of the moon. So with Te Reo as a default language for each phase, using knowledge that Māori used for generations as a guide, you know, for planting and fishing and harvesting and living, there's this really cool app. So, have you got your phones with you? Let's load Hina. Let's load Hina, and then we will see what Hina meaning is today. So you go to your app store or you go to Google and put it in Hina, H-I-N-A. And over the weekend it had gone down, which I thought was most unfortunate being Matariki. But I'm just going to get my phone because I want to bring it up too. Is everyone going all right? It looks like this. And if you looked out at the moon this morning, it looked exactly like this.
Right there.
Well, it's hard, you can hardly see it. It's just got that little shade, the little... Have you got what it actually says
Hina.
today, for today? Who's got what it actually says for today? Monday, the 27th of June, exactly. It says Māori. And I'm just going to, have you got a description on what that means? I've just tapped mine and it came up.
A piece of the moon.
It'll come. So when I looked at it yesterday, it said a very productive day for planting food, fishing and going eland, and the historical energy level was high. Today, so that was Oronganui,
And today is Māori, and it says not a productive productive day for food is scarce and fish are restless. But it's still a high energy day, so excellent. So look, that's the end of my talk. I hope it loads up for you because it's very, very cool little app. Any questions?
How's the journey been for you, the learning? How's it changed the way you look at this?
Oh, well, I just think it's fantastic to learn about the phases and the four main phases for Te Arawa, and then how it cycles for the 29.53 days. And I'm thrilled that I actually installed an app by myself without involving my children. So yeah, thank you for listening, thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed my talk.
Thank you, Christine. And this is for you. Oh, kia ora, another big paki for Christine. We have, for the rest of the week, I think, leading up to Sunday, we have more Matariki Tauira from 12:15 to 12:30 here in Te Akamori. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the muchacho of Rob, and Rob is going to talk on Wednesday about rehua. Ko rehua tēnā. Tomorrow we have Greg Kike and he will be talking about atutahi. So we're having a brotherly kōrero tomorrow and Wednesday. Matariki Tauira talking about the winter sky. An opportunity for you to meet our fellow council workers and to hear a little bit more about the stars and the planetary bodies that we have out there i te upa o Ranginui. So with that also we have Pathfinders, so you can find more information here in Te Akamori about Matariki and the winter sky. With that, ka nui te mihi kia koe. You are now a Matariki Tauira. You've gone from a Matariki Tauira, a student of Matariki, to being a Matariki Tauira. Tauira also means an example, the exemplification of Matariki, because you've shown your knowledge down so that everybody can see the way, just like the Marama. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou, kia whakairia ke te tapu, kia wātea ai te ara, kia tūruki whakataha ai, hauni e hui e tāki. A cup of tea over here too at te whānau, if you want a bit of a cup of tea.